me romance. Read me romance. Read me romance. Read me romance. You could take a look in a book, that's fine. Or you could sit back, relax, and unwind and read me romance. Read me romance.
Welcome back, lady listeners.
Welcome back, lady listeners, to a new week at Read Me Romance. I'm Leah. This is Mel.
Mel.
We write as Alexa Riley. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time with us this week, we really appreciate you being here. We have got a brand new romance from Natalie Caña. I am so excited to have her with us. She is one of my faves. I follow her on social media, so I just enjoy seeing all her posts and stuff. And you kind of get that like feeling about someone when you follow them and you see their comments or replies, you see what they share and stuff and just kind of their thoughts and everything. And I know we can make up a lot of assumptions about social media when you see people post, but she is so authentically kind and wonderful in everything I've seen about her. And then everything I hear about her that people say about her just reinforces just what a wonderful person she is. So I'm super excited that she has brought her book to us on the podcast. It's called How Maya Got Her Sazón Back, and we're going to play with it in just a little bit. But first we're going to catch up and check in and see how everything's going, and then we'll talk about Natalie and all her good stuff with her books and everything. So I don't know why it feels like this is I think this is our third week back recording after our long summer break. And for some reason it feels like we're still trying to find our legs after being off for so long. I think that's what we get for taking like 3 months off. And then we're like, oh my God, how do we do this again? How do we introduce ourselves? What podcast is this? But
I'm like, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I forgot to do that. Oh.
Yep.
Kind of stuff.
I know we had to start over too when we recorded a second ago. So just so you know, guys, if you don't get it right on the first time, neither do we. Okay, nobody's perfect. but I had there were several things I was excited to tell you tonight, and I was like, oh, I'll wait till we record before we talk about it. The first one was my book club met, and it's the first time that they've met in a while. We kind of like had sort of the same thing happen over the summer. Everybody got busy or whatnot. And so somebody suggested a cookbook for October because they thought like this will be low effort and we can all just get together and have food. And so like everybody will make something from the cookbook or whatever. And so
that's a good idea.
I know it was really fun. So so we ended up doing that, and it was nice to just like sit around and catch up. And I always like asking, like, okay, what are you guys reading right now? Especially as an author, I'm like, what are you into? What's going on? And so, the one that I was asking them about, they were like, oh, new releases, blah, 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 or whatever. And I had recommended the book that we should read next for the podcast, or listen to me for the podcast, for the book club. I was like, okay, this is a short book that I thought might be really great for the holidays. And I may have mentioned it last week when we were chatting up. It's called All Is Calmish. I don't remember if I talked about this or not last week, but it's but the title of it is All Is Calm-ish, and it's by Nero Feliciano.
I thought you said Amish.
No, All Is Calm-ish. So it's a holiday themed book, but it's like the title on it says How to Feel Less Frantic and More Festive During the Holidays. And under the blurb, it says, stop forcing holiday cheer and start embracing the season in a way that truly resonates with you. Discover simple daily strategies for cultivating peace, balance, and genuine joy as you navigate the holidays with grace. And I just thought that was really cool. Like it was very timely when I saw it. Somebody posted on Instagram, and I was like, okay. And this author had written another book that she had published previously, Nero did, and it's called This Book Won't Make You Happy, 8 Keys to Finding True Contentment. And I was like, I like this lady already. She's got banging titles. So this one was one that I felt was, like I said, was apt and timely. And if anything right now, I think it's just a good time to remind ourselves to be kind to ourselves. So that was the one I suggested for the next book club. And so they said, okay, so they're going to read it next time. So I felt pretty important that I got to pick the next book in our book club,
Yeah.
although no pressure. I hope it's not terrible, but it's got great reviews so far.
I've never done a book club before, but I did realize when you started talking about it, I was like, oh, I am in a book club.
Yeah.
I'm in a book club. I remember that podcast I went to go see. They do
Oh,
book
yeah,
club
with
every
the
Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
And
What kind of books do they do?
right now they're doing, one of the sister wives wrote a book.
Oh,
And he
okay.
only does me do a chapter a week. One chapter a week.
Chapter a week? What is wrong with these people?
Listen, it takes like an hour because he reads it to us.
Oh,
he reads
okay.
the chapter and he adds extra shit to it. And
like commentary?
Hilarious.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, he does voices, he adds commentary, he adds extra that the author didn't say that. You're like, she did not say that. And it's an autobiography.
Oh.
It's
See,
ridiculous,
I think I would
but it was
like
fun.
that.
It's a good theory, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
An idea to how to do a book club.
That is kind of fun though, like to read out a chapter. See, I would have the hardest time not reading ahead. Did you read ahead at all on this?
No, and I own the book. I have the hardback. I'm just waiting because I'm so entertained that I'm like, I'm not going to read ahead.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. I guess like maybe it wouldn't be hard to wait if like you knew that you were going to get to enjoy this with everybody, like it would be fun to do it together, which I can definitely see the bonus in that.
I think also that it's an autobiography makes it easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's not like real spoilers coming.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But
or not spoilers, but an unpredictable ending.
Well, and not even that, just like to have somebody that's like, if you're reading it, especially if it's an autobiography and you guys have been invested in Sister Wives and you're like, okay, you're really into it. So when he's reading something and, it's like, oh, she said this. No, that bitch didn't, like to have somebody come in with that sort of commentary to it. I think that would be really fun to read as a group. I've never done it that way before. I'd probably just get too antsy and blow right through it though. Although I did tell them about the book that I downloaded the other day and I've been listening to the audio, and it's called Willing Prey by Ali Oleander. And I need to finish this book before I can give you 100% guarantee on it. But I'm on like chapter 4 and I'm already like, I want to leave you a voice message, Mel, and I want to whisper how fucking filthy this book is in the voice message to you. Because it is so nasty. Hold on. Let me make sure my office door is closed.
Prey? That sounds familiar.
Okay, listen. I thought it was the willing victim one that we read back in the day. Do you remember that one where it was like the rape fantasy? Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Okay, that's the one I thought it was, because this is a re-release of an older book. It's not the same one. It's a different. I had to go look on my Kindle and dig that old Willing Victim one out by Kara McKenna, not the same one. This is called Willing Prey by Ali Oleander. And it starts off, okay, so this woman is married to this man, and they're married for like 10 years, but she got married really young when she was like 19 or 20 or something. And she worked to put him through law school, and she's a teacher, whatever. And he ends up leaving her for one of the paralegals in his office. He cheats on her. But while she's married to him, they go to a Christmas party, his office Christmas party. And it's like this ugly sweater Christmas party thing. And she gets there and she's wearing this meowy Christmas sweater. You got one just like it. So, but she's wearing this like ugly Christmas sweater and she's like joking around with people and she walks over to her husband, who is drunk at this party, and she overhears him telling his boss about the camping trip that her and her husband took, where she ran in the woods and he hunted her down and fucked her, and how much she liked it. She overhears her husband telling his boss this. So the boss, when he hears this, he's like, oh shit, I want her. So the boss finds out that the husband is fucking the paralegal. He's like, I just waited. I bided my time and I waited for them to get divorced. And when they did, he offers her $30,000 to come to his house so he can chase her in the woods and fuck her. Listen, he gives her a watch that counts down, and it gives a number, and that's how many minutes she has, and then it says run. And so he
I'm
just
gonna
does
read this. This sounds so good.
Mel, it is so fucking nasty. It's so, oh my God, it's so
Okay, I'm
good.
gonna read this.
And she is like so
Alright.
horny. She is so horny. She's like running
It
for
better
her
be good because
life.
this is a $11 book.
I know what the audio is so good. The audio is 13, I think. The audio is on sale. Get whatever you want, but it's
Okay.
dual narrator, so it's guy and girl. But oh my God, it's so good. So like while she's still married, this is something I want to tell you too before, but while she's still married, he thinks like, oh, this is just I like the idea of it. Like the thought of her doing that turns me on. He was like, I don't like cheaters or whatever, and I don't want to get with a married woman. So he tries to hire a sex worker to do it. He was like, it was a terrible experience. Like, it wasn't it. He was like, it's got to be her. Like, and then he just like focuses in on like, it's just this woman. I'm obsessed with her. And then I'm going to do this and I'll get it out of my system. And then he's like, okay, no, it is so filthy. So yeah, that's called Willing Prey, Allie Oleander. So far, I'm loving it.
I pulled it up, and all the people I follow on Goodreads are like 5-star, 5-star, 5-star.
No. Okay, good. Thank God. I'm hoping, because I'm not at the end of it yet. And I was seriously like, I need to wait before I recommend this to Mel, because this is like the whole time I'm reading this, I'm like, Mel's gonna fucking love this book. She's gonna love this book. And so yeah, I was like, maybe I'll just wait and get to the end. So, but what?
I read a book, and I can't even remember the title. I'm not even gonna say it. Maybe I'll talk about it. Maybe you'll know. Who's the author that always writes with Renee Rose?
Oh, Lisa Vino?
Is that it?
Is it Lisa?
I think she did a book.
Yeah, I think it's
like that where you chase her down.
It's
and
Renee
it's hot
Rose.
as hell. He's been like obsessed with her.
Yeah, it's Renee Rose and Lisa Vino. They're the ones that write together. You said there's one with Lisa Vino where she does it?
His Perfect Prey.
Ooh,
I wonder if she got the idea from it.
So this book, Willing Prey is like
it's old. That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering
if
she got
maybe
that.
So.
When I looked it up, there's multiple copies of older versions I've seen on Goodreads.
Oh,
so I
okay,
wonder.
Yeah.
So that one, it has that same, not the
same, but the same vibes. Yeah, same vibes.
The same vibe.
Okay. Yeah, but when I was reading this, I was like, oh my God, I was like, this is the book Mel's going to love. I was like, I need to finish reading this to make sure it's okay. So I'm glad that they got good reviews on it, because I'm enjoying the shit out of it.
I think I'm going to do it. It's going to be my challenge, because my therapist told me I don't like to do anything without I read the endings of books. I have to look up the reviews. And I'm supposed to challenge myself to kind of push past it. So maybe I should just go into this one and not read the rest of the reviews. And I
feel like this is enough. Like, this is enough of a trip into this, where I'm like, okay, you kind of know the premise, you've got the setup, and you've got people saying it's 5 stars. Go for it. Why not? Live a little. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad. I can't wait to see what you think. And if it's terrible, you'll have to come back and tell us. But I have a feeling you're going to really like it, because everything I've seen on it, like the reviews and the videos and stuff I've seen, have all been really good. So
I don't. Now I kind of want it to be terrible, so I can go back to my therapist. But see, it was terrible.
See, this is why I am the way I am. See, I have to be this way. Oh my God, I saw this meme or whatever on Instagram earlier, where it's like, yeah, have you never thought through the worst case scenario for everything ever for your entire life? I'm sorry. It was like, yeah. That's what we're supposed to do, right? I didn't know that wasn't an option, to not think through everything horribly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention those couple of things. And then what I was reading lately, I also read a couple of mysteries too, and I'm going to post those in the Facebook group, Read Me Romance Headquarters, because I know we can go on a tangent about books sometimes, and not always like romance ones too, but I mean, we all read different stuff. So I'll just put what I've been reading lately in there, so you guys can see it. I also started One Killer Night by Trelina Pucci. I have that one too, or I haven't started yet, but I downloaded that one in audio, and I love her. She's adorable. So I love her because the first time I was like, how do you say your last name? And she was like, Poochie like Gucci, baby. I was like, bitch, get out of my, I know. I was like, get out of my face. I love you. so yeah, make sure you check in the Facebook group Reading My Romance headquarters. I'll do that.
I had what I was going to read tonight, but I might start yours instead because this one I died. Wait. I'm on Danny Watts.
Oh yeah,
list or whatever. Yep. Mm-hmm. And she just let out a Halloween one, and it's called "Death Comes Inside Her." A bareback demon, insta love, obsessed, double V card romance.
Bareback
That's
demon.
The whole title.
Death comes inside her. Wow. That is incredible.
All she wanted was to save her home. Now she's engaged to a demon hell-bent on knocking her up. I'm like, this is going to be the best 95 pages of my life.
When you know what you're getting into, you know, like okay, this is what you're here for. Like, let's not beat around the bush, you know? Let's just go straight to it. The other thing I wanted to tell you about this week is that I tried Pilates. And so did we talk about this last week where I was trying, I don't know if I told you.
After we got done recording.
That's right. I told you I had the class the next day. So there's like a studio that opened up. You could throw a rock and hit it in my house. So I really don't have an excuse not to go. And it's really cool because it's in this old mill building. So it's like upstairs and it's all these exposed beams and like big, like rounded windows and stuff and industrial brick walls. It's really cool. Like it's this huge space and they have a bunch of like the Pilates machines lined up. And listen, I am not a small girl, okay? Like there is some weight to me, okay? Like she is thick, she is weighted, she is heavy, and so I never considered doing something like this because it feels like a rich white woman thing, you know, like to do Pilates.
How did you know that it was created during the war in a prison by a
was it really
named Pilates?
I did not know that.
It was they were in like a prison.
I did not know there was like an
American person. And they were trying to stay fit and they did these Pilates. This guy with the last name Pilates did it. So you could do it in a small area on your own with nothing if needed.
Oh, okay. Because so like I've never taken a class before, but I know you can take them without like the reformer machines, without like the whole thing. You can just do like a normal class. So I thought it was really interesting, but I follow somebody on Instagram who sometimes does like food and content, just like a lifestyle blogger basically. But she's about my size, and I saw her go to a Pilates class, and I was like, I didn't know it was for bigger bodies. But so I got on the website of the place that's here, and I loved that they had people that were all shapes and sizes on their website, and they specifically said Pilates is for all bodies, and I was like, okay, bet, let's see. But I just thought I would try it because, you know, I love yoga. It just is a big benefit for me, you know, even being like a bigger, heavier person. Like I'm not going to go for a run. Like my body's not made for that. But stretching and stuff feels fantastic. And I love the mobility of it. That always feels amazing. So I just thought, you know what, this may not be for me, but I am willing to give it a try. It's right there. Let me just go see. And the first class I did, I was like, how is this the laziest, hardest workout of my entire life? Like I laid on this board and pulled some ropes and stuff and pushed off a bar. And somehow I sweated my balls off. Like I came out of there thinking, I don't know if I can walk down these stairs. But I just laid on this beam the whole time, you know, like it was wild how gentle it was on my body. It was almost like swim aerobics, you know, where there's no impact, but you work your fucking ass off. That's what it felt like, you know.
And I love that when you're in class, the instructor, when you go to do some of the more moves. They're like, if you're a beginner, do it this way. If you want to do it this, they give like multiple options.
Yeah, I really appreciated that they had those options too, where they were like, okay, advanced, we're going to do this, because I just took a basic beginner class, but it was for all stages. And they were like, okay, so we're going to modify this one right now. So if you'll get, this and do this, and then if you want to do this further one, you can do this. And then she would just count out reps. But like the instructor I had the first time was like, it was just me and two other women who were in their 60s. And they were just badass bitches. I mean, they were like in incredible shape, but also very flexible, might I add. But after the class, like, they were very welcoming and stuff. And after the class, they were just like, you did amazing. Like, they were really encouraging, and they were so nice about like, please come back. Like, this was a lot of fun. This is a great class. You should keep it up, or whatever. So the thing I did, I had to buy like 3 sessions, and I didn't realize you have to use those 3 sessions within 2 weeks. So I went Thursday, and then had to go Tuesday, and then I'm going again tomorrow. So it's like I'm doing all of these at once. But on Tuesday's class, the owner was there. And when I tell you, this bitch went whole hog up in there. Like, she was like, we're doing everything on this machine. We're getting all the reps in. And I was like, okay, this is not what I was promised on Thursday's class. Like, Thursday's class was, I just laid here. And then Tuesday's class, I was like, wow. But yeah, so Tuesday's class was rough, but I have the other instructor again on Thursday, so I'm hoping she'll be a little bit easier on me. But even with like having the owner do the class on Tuesday, I felt like I can do this. Like, I was able to keep up. Like, it wasn't like, I mean, I never work out. You know me. Like, that's my least favorite thing to do on earth, is to be physically active. So the fact that I could like keep up and stuff with it I was impressed with myself, and I felt so good afterwards. I was definitely sore the next day in like places I didn't know existed, but it wasn't like, when I've lifted weights in the past, I haven't been able to sit down to pee because my thighs have hurt so fucking bad. I'm like, I'll just hold it, or I'll stand up and pee in the shower, like, because I've hurt myself beyond the point of being able to squat down on the toilet. But it wasn't like this at all. This was like a good sort of thing. Like, I got a deep massage almost, like the way I stretched and stuff. It was great. So I would definitely encourage somebody, if, even if you're a bigger person, if you're not, super familiar with anything about Pilates. I'm still not, clearly, but it was a great experience. And I thought, I like seeing people with bodies like mine do things like that, because it lets me know I can do things like that. I mean, I saw that woman on Instagram do it, and I was like, because I follow her because we have very similar body types, and I like to see what she wears, and I'm like, oh, that's cute on her. It probably look cute on me. So when I saw her at a Pilates class, I thought, shit, I've never considered that. Maybe that's something I can do. So I don't know. Anyways, but it was fun. I'm going to try it again at some point. I'm going to do it again tomorrow, and we'll see what happens after that. But I really liked it. All right. I think that's all the new business. I think we should talk about Natalie now. Okay, let's get into it. Natalie Caña. So my first introduction to her was through a book blogger, Carla is Reading, who I love Carla. She's also does admin stuff for the podcast. She's given us like tons of recommendations before. That's why I follow her on social media. She always has the best recommendations. A Proposal They Can't Refuse is one that she recommended. That's Natalie's book that Carla talked about endlessly. Sleeping with a Frenemy was another one that she talked about. I read and loved. So that's a series together. And so Natalie has brought us this book now, that How Maya Got Her Sazón back. And so it's an upcoming series. This is kind of like a launch to it. It's called Las Brujas, Paranormal Investigators. So it's a series that it ties into How Maya Got Her Sazón back. Book 1 is Beauty and the Chupacabra, which I fucking love the title of. I think that's amazing. It's coming out early 2027. So if you read that or you listen to this audio today and you like it, you will love everything Natalie writes. So, and then I'm really excited this is kind of kicking off that as well. She's got a new paranormal world that she's like kind of diving into in the early 2027 with Beauty and the Chupacabra. If you want to find out more about this, you can find Natalie on Instagram at Natalie Caña Writes, Nataliecana. So make sure you check that out. And okay, well, let me read Natalie's bio right now, her author bio. Natalie Caña has been many things: a teacher of fun size to king size humans, a seriously unqualified softball coach, a scaredy cat Halloween store manager, an Emmy award winning public television producer, and more. What the hell, Natalie? She's a fucking Emmy award winner? Girl, that should be on every book you write. You should put on, like, people put New York Times bestseller, Emmy award winning writer or television producer. Put that shit up there, Natalie. The one thing she's always been since she first picked up a pencil is a writer. She loves to incorporate her "you'll never believe what just happened to me" personal experiences, enthusiasm, and telenovela tomfoolery, and love for her Latin culture into creating funny, heartfelt, and just a little bit over the top contemporary romances for characters who look and sound like her. I love this so much. So the book that she has coming up, let's see, this is the one I talked about a little bit ago, A Proposal They Can't Refuse. Camila Vega is desperate to convince her family to update the Puerto Rican restaurant to enter into the fall foodie tour. With the gentrification of the Chicago neighborhood, its only way to save the place. The fly in her mofongo, her blackmailing abuelo, says if she wants to change anything in his restaurant, she'll have to marry the one man she can't stand, his best friend's grandson. Liam Kane spent a decade working to turn his family distillery into a contender. But just as he and his grandfather are on the verge of winning a national competition, Grandma hits him with a 1-2 punch. He has cancer and has his heart set on seeing Liam married before it's too late. And Grandma knows just the girl, Camila Vega. If they refuse, their grandfathers will sell the building that housed both their businesses. With their futures on the line, Camilla and Liam plan to outfox the divisive duo, faking an engagement until they both get what they want. But soon they find themselves tangled up in more than either of them bargained for. That's The Proposal They Can't Refuse. I love this book by Natalie Caña. Please go check it out. If you like what you hear today, that's where you want to go to. In the second book in the series is A Dish Best Served Hot, followed by Sleeping with a Frenemy. They're all super fun. She is, like she described in her author bio, they are over the top, like what she said about the telenovela tomfoolery. Yes. Like they're so fun. I love her books. They're like a big hug. So the book you're about to listen to today, like I said, is How Maya Got Her Sazón Back. And I guess we'll send you guys into that one right now.
This is How Maya Got Her Sazón Back by Natalie Caña. Read for you by Diana Bustelo. I always knew he was a piece of shit, but now I wish you would have let me put bacalao in his car's air filter like I wanted. Although the petty part of her would have loved to envision her come mierda ex going slowly mad as he tried to figure out what was making his Benz smell like rotten fish. Maya Ramos was an adult now, and 28-year-olds did not go around vandalizing cars in revenge. Therefore, like the grown woman she was, she looked up from where she was sitting crisscross in front of the full-length mirror, placing stick-on jewels on her face, and shook her head at her cousin who stood behind her. "He's not worth it," she said in her no-nonsense voice. She had to keep Dani on a tight leash because, to put it mildly, her cousin was always a hop, skip, and jump away from crashing out. Daniela was very much of the "when they go low, I go straight to hell" mentality, and Maya no longer had the disposable income to bail them both out of jail. Not now that she had to find a new place where she would be paying all the bills on her own. "His bitch ass would wait until you're out of town to tell you that you have to move out." Her other cousin Valeria's voice came from the main suite bathroom of their hotel room. For some reason, Maya still felt the need to defend him. I mean, it is his condo. She placed another red teardrop gem along the edge of her elongated cat eye. I moved in with him, remember? That conversation could have waited until you got back from Puerto Rico, Valeria called back. Dani's reflection rolled her dark eyes before continuing to contour her cheekbones. But then how would he ruin her Halloween? She asked her older sister rhetorically. We all know she's not allowed to have fun without him. They weren't lying. Kyle had definitely waited until that morning to text her a link to a clearly bullshit eviction notice signed by him, as if he were her landlord. He thought he was hurting her, but she was so over his bullshit that she was numb to his manipulative and immature ways. After nearly 10 years of the constant mind games, she'd finally figured out that the only way to win was to refuse to play. Well, joke's on him this time, because I have every intention of having a great fucking time. Good for you, prima. Valeria walked out of the bathroom. Maya couldn't help the laughter that escaped when she caught her cousin's reflection in the mirror. Dani turned her head to look at her sister, and she started laughing too. Valeria's costume makeup wasn't supposed to be that funny, but dressing like a zombie cow was inherently hilarious, especially because of the one glued horn on her forehead. Keep laughing, she grumbled. When Victor and I win the costume contest, we aren't buying y'all any shots with the prize money. Y'all two always have to do the absolute most for Halloween, Dani commented when she finished laughing. It was true. Ever since their first Halloween together in freshman year of college, they went hard on the couple costumes. Considering they both had no shame when it came to dressing up, they'd portrayed a lot of great and hilarious duos over the years. This year might be one of Maya's favorites, though. Since they were in Puerto Rico, the entire group decided to use it as inspiration. Valeria and Victor decided to bring a local legend about the tragic end of a farmer and his favorite animal to life. But for real, going as Dead Jacinto and his cow is low-key genius. I know, Valeria smiled as she sat on the edge of the bed in her bathrobe, rubbing bronzing lotion on her legs. Victor is mad he has to wear makeup this year. He said it's too hot for all that, but the zombie aspect takes it to another level. Dani was leaned over, filling in her eyebrows. He has a point. I doubt y'all will even make it to the contest before sweating a bunch of it off. Don't start, Valeria told her little sister. Some of us actually put effort into our costumes and don't just use Halloween as an excuse to show tits and ass. Maya rolled her eyes and went back to finishing up her own costume makeup. She'd heard Valeria remark on Dani's Coqui costume being nothing but a rhinestone swimsuit at least 3 times already. If you got 'em, flaunt 'em, Dani retorted, bending over to twerk in her tank top and panties. I mean, you paid enough for them, Valeria shot back, referring to Dani's plastic surgery from a few years ago. I told you to come get snatched with me in the DR, but you decided to take a cruise to freaking Alaska instead. It was our 5-year wedding anniversary. Girl, who the hell goes to Alaska, especially for an anniversary trip? At that point, Maya tuned them out. The sisters loved to talk shit to each other about anything and everything. Luckily, their older brother Carlos was getting ready at his apartment with his friends, or he'd be there instigating. Just thinking about it was enough to cause a tension headache. Maya and her older brother Gabriel weren't anything like her cousins. Where her cousins teased, fought, and loved loudly, and always in close proximity, she and Gabe tended to do their own thing. She loved her brother, and they got along, but they didn't hang out or do things together like her cousins did. Sometimes that bothered her, but usually she could chalk it up to them just being different people who didn't like the same things. Eventually, her cousins stopped bickering, and she'd finished placing all of the jewels for her parrot makeup. It looked pretty awesome if she could toot her own horn for a minute. She usually didn't play around with makeup much. She had her go-to palette of neutrals that she used on a daily basis. However, thanks to a bunch of online tutorials, she'd managed to create a red, yellow, green, and blue masterpiece with eyeshadow, liquid eyeliner, and ginormous feathery false lashes. She was glad that she decided not to change her costume, despite no longer having a pirate to pair up with. She started to pack up all of her makeup tools. "You look so cute," Valeria told her as she shimmied her blood-splattered cow-patterned dress over her generous hips. "Once you put on the rest, you're going to slay." "Maya and I are going to look like we're here for carnival," Dani decreed. "I blame you entirely for that." Maya pointed her eyeliner at her cousin. "You're the one who convinced me to basically wear a bikini instead of a tank top and leggings like I planned." "First of all, it's a 2-piece yoga outfit with a bralette and full coverage shorts." Dani tossed her blush brush into her makeup bag on the bed. "And Maya, baby girl," Dani patted her on the head before turning away, "we're in Puerto Rico. You obviously have to show some skin." "I agree," Valeria chimed in. "What better way to celebrate your single status than to proudly put that tight little dancer body on display?" Maya hadn't done modern dance since high school, but her cousins still loved to bring it up. She knew it wasn't their intention, but when they mentioned her dancer body, it highlighted the differences between their hourglass figures and her compact one. It used to bother her that she hadn't inherited the traditional bombshell curves from her abuela and tias, and instead resembled her mother's less curvaceous English and French heritage. It felt like yet another way she failed at being Latina enough. However, she'd learned to love and appreciate herself and her many ethnicities exactly as they were. "Y'all are really trying to have me out here acting a fool," Maya said as she pulled her wings and tail out of the bag. After years of creating Maya's outfits for recitals and shows, her mom had basically become a costume designer, so it only made sense for Maya to ask her to make a cute parrot costume that would be easy to pack. Her mom had come through like a boss. She'd made what was essentially a set of long hanging sleeves with individually attached organza feathers that tied to Maya's wrists and the straps of her top, along with a matching knee-length tail that clipped around her waist like a fanny pack. She also made Maya a headpiece out of a headband and a shit ton of feathers. It was going to look awesome. Across the room, Dani slid her arm into the sleeve of her bodysuit. "Oh, it's more than that." She pulled the other sleeve over her shoulder and turned around so Valeria could zip it up. "Carlos and I have decided that we're dragging you into your hoe era tonight." She shimmied her hips to make the beaded tassels attached to the leg holes shake. Maya shook her head. "No, thank you. Y'all two showgirls can hoe it up by yourselves." She was referring to Carlos's planned costume as famed Puerto Rican entertainer Iris Chacon, and the fact that Dani's outfit looked like something from a Las Vegas burlesque show. Valeria laughed. "You do look like a showgirl," she told Dani, "or a ballroom samba dancer." Dani ignored their teasing and focused on her mission. "I'm serious. You've always been in a relationship. You dated Matt most of high school and then met Kyle almost as soon as we started college. You've basically never been single. You never sowed your wild oats. You need to have a fling, and Puerto Rico is the perfect place for you to get your sazón back after those unseasoned raw chicken cutlets." Valeria wrinkled her nose. "I mean, damn, but the Caribbean is the birthplace of the world's finest men," she added. "Obviously, you don't have to sleep with anyone like this hoe says, but some heavy flirting can't hurt." Maya hated to admit it, but they were making some valid points. She was a perpetual relationshipper. She'd never been the type of girl to hook up just to hook up. It wasn't because she thought it was wrong or even that she was shy. She just kept finding herself spending more and more time with a guy until they were together. It wasn't that they were particularly great guys or amazing relationships either. Now that she looked back on it, even at their best, both relationships had been fine. Until they weren't. Although, to be fair, she didn't think she was a particularly romantic person anyway. She didn't feel butterflies, fall in lust, or sit around daydreaming about a guy. It wasn't in her nature, and she didn't know why not. While they weren't disgustingly lovey-dovey like her Tío Juan and Tía Mónica, her parents had a steady and affectionate relationship. So it wasn't that she had some kind of childhood trauma regarding relationships. She just didn't have the same capacity for strong feelings like that. In a way, that made a vacation fling all the more perfect. She didn't have to worry about catching feelings. "I'm not against the idea," she finally confessed. "It could be fun." She couldn't remember the last time she'd had fun with a guy who wasn't related to her in some way. Both of the cousins let out a whoop of excitement, and Danny quickly grabbed her phone to start texting. "I'm telling Carlos that Operation Sazón is a go." "Wait a minute. There is no Operation Sazón." Maya tried to grab Danny's phone, but she quickly backed up so Maya couldn't reach. "I don't want you all pushing me at guys and making this way more complicated than it needs to be." "What do you mean? We won't complicate anything," Valeria argued. "I'm an amazing wing woman," Danny said, borderline offended. Maya snorted. "You three complicate everything. You might as well be called matches, coal, and a hand grenade." It was Valeria's turn to be offended. "Rude!" Danny just smiled, because she knew exactly who she was in that roundup and was proud of it. "We'll be cool about it. We'll just help a little bit. You'll see. Everything will be great." Oh, hell. This was going to be an absolute shit show. Bryan Montalvo Ayala hadn't been home in a few years. In fact, since leaving for college, he'd done his best not to visit his birthplace if he could help it. It wasn't that he didn't love Puerto Rico. He did. He missed it every day he was in the States. It was the strings that came with every visit that had him being absent. Strings that felt more like chains trying to keep him prisoner. He knew avoiding Puerto Rico wasn't the healthy way of dealing with his family and their expectations, but it was the only plan he had. A plan that failed the minute he stepped out of the hotel room shower and wiped the condensation off the mirror. He expected to see his own face looking back at him, and in a way, he did. Except this version of him was a few shades darker than his own light brown skin and 50 years older. The face was also irritated when he was sure his own was defeated. Bryan sighed. "Bendiciones, abuelo," he whispered, conscious of the people on the other side of the bathroom door. His grandfather didn't bother returning his greeting. "Don't you get sick of trying to sneak in and out of your home like a thief in the night?" His deep voice radiated the power coursing through his veins. It was also way louder than it needed to be. "You know that the minute your feet touch Borican soil, I am aware of your presence." It was one of the many gifts his maternal grandfather was given upon his ascension to the patriarch and high priest of their ile. His family hadn't been practitioners of Santeria, officially, for many generations, ever since his great, etc. grandfather had begun incorporating magics from other spiritualities. But they still kept a lot of the titles they'd gained from the Yoruba-based religion. Bryan lifted a finger to his lips and signaled wait with his other hand. He quickly reached for the power in his blood and created a ward of silence around the bathroom. Once he was sure it was firmly in place, he dropped both hands. "Oluwu, I wasn't trying to be sneaky. I planned to visit you before I left on Monday. I've just been busy since I arrived." His grandfather scoffed his disbelief. "Ha! I see you've just gotten out of the shower, so that stench must be your lies." "Fine, I was considering a visit, but since you're here now, I no longer have to." He hardened his heart to the look of disappointment on his grandfather's face. "As a child, you used to wake up, leave your house, and run next door to climb in bed with your abuela and I before the sun was even up. You were my second shadow." He shook his head in sadness. "Is this what we're to become now? Two acquaintances who avoid one another because of pride?" Bryan refused to acknowledge the guilt that bubbled up. "You know what caused this distance." If his grandfather weren't constantly trying to push a future on him that he didn't want, he probably never would have left home. His abuelo looked annoyed and a little offended. "And you know that I didn't choose this path for you. I just foresaw it. It's not for me to try to tell the ancestors what to do, but to listen when they share their secrets with me. Maybe that's the way it had been before, but they both knew that mixing in other magics to their ways had changed everything. It was no longer just the ancestors and the orishas their secret holders communicated with, and they had more abilities than the healing and divination they'd had before. If his grandfather wanted to change Bryan's path, he could. He refused to, because it meant that their family would no longer hold the position of power amongst their people. You're the one sacrificing our relationship in the name of pride. I'm simply refusing to sacrifice my happiness just to fall in line. Bryan could practically feel the heated rush of anger through the mirror, although that wasn't possible. You foolish boy, this is not about pride or happiness. It's about our duty and our responsibilities. We were chosen to maintain balance and ensure peace. It is an honor we've respected for generations. Yet you'd throw everything into chaos for a woman who doesn't even know you and who hasn't given you a second look in 10 years. Bryan pulled his shoulders back and stood tall, despite the pain his abuelo's words caused. It only proved that the old man didn't know everything. His beloved may not have felt the immediate connection he had, but that was going to change tonight. He had everything planned out, and with the help of his friends, he wouldn't fail. I'm done repeating the same argument with you, abuelo. I love you and I love our people, but I will not follow the path you think is inevitable. His abuelo huffed, but didn't immediately launch onto another sermon. What am I to tell your grandmother? Should she expect a visit from her grandson, or is she to be disappointed as well? Bryan shook his head. The guilt trips never stopped. You can tell her the same thing I already told my mother and my sisters. I will be there Monday morning for a visit. The duration of it depends on how long a certain stubborn old goat can hold his tongue and maintain peace. His jaw ticked. Very well. Until Monday, then, Obalola. He disappeared before Bryan could protest the usage of the name he would not vindicate. It was once again his own reflection in the mirror. Although the blue eyes staring back at him were bright with determination, it was the most they'd resembled those of the grandfather he shared them with in years. Bryan guessed he and his abuelo were more alike than he wanted to admit, because he too was a stubborn goat. He knew that he was doing the right thing, and he wasn't going to be swayed. He would not be tomorrow's king, because, after tonight, he planned to be Maya's love. He'd spent the last decade on the sidelines of her life, watching her settle for a mediocre man who didn't appreciate anything about her, and who certainly didn't recognize that there was a white-hot fire within her that she was keeping banked. Bryan wasn't even sure that she knew what she was doing. But whether subconscious or not, Maya was hiding her true self behind a facade of ordinary complacency. It was as if she feared rocking the boat so much that she reduced the tempest within her to a zephyr. But Bryan knew it was there. From the moment he met her at a party, Bryan had known that not only was Maya special, like him, but he was hers. It had been just like his father said. She'd grabbed his hand to shake it, and his skin tingled painfully, as if 2 electric currents were playing tag up and down his spine. His magic almost jumped out of his body to touch hers. Lastly, his heart took a dip into something warm and comforting before perfectly keeping time with hers. Then her boyfriend had walked up to introduce himself, and Bryan's heart was knocked out of rhythm. It hadn't been right since. However, tonight things would change. He could feel it in his bones. If he was ever going to catch her attention and break her free, it was going to be tonight. Bryan gave his reflection one more look in the mirror, silently reminding himself that it was now or never. Then he dropped the wards, opened the bathroom door, and proceeded to get ready for the most important night of his life. It seemed like forever, but it was only minutes before he had on his costume and was walking into the large living space of the 3-bedroom villa everyone was sharing. His best friends and fraternity brothers, Victor and Manuel, were in the kitchenette area mixing up some piña coladas. Neither of them was fully costumed like he was. Besides his zombie makeup, Victor was in nothing but a pair of lightweight beige linen pants that were tattered and blood-spattered, and a pava, the traditional straw hat worn by jibaros. Manny was a lazy bum, so his costume consisted of a pair of jeans and a white t-shirt that said, "This is my human costume. I'm really the chupacabra," in what appeared to be magic marker. They both looked up as soon as the bedroom door closed behind him. "Arg, me matey, we have the rum ye be waiting for," Victor said. He held up a bottle of Donku Gold. Bryan's eyebrow went up at the large amount of rum he dumped in the blender. "Damn, bro," Manny exclaimed. "You're going to get us so messed up that we can't even make it to the costume party." "Mira, I love being here, but these drink prices are out of control," Victor retorted. "We need to get fucked up before heading to the club, or we're all going to be too broke to enjoy the rest of the trip." He turned on the blender. Usually that would be sound advice, but not when they had places to be and people to meet up with. When the blender was stopped, Bryan asked, "Are you ready to have to carry your wife around because she can't walk straight?" He'd witnessed it many times in the past, especially during their college years. "You know he's got that viejo back now?" Manny teased. "They'd both end up on the ground." Victor didn't look up from the cups he was pouring into. "Fuck you, that's a sports injury." "Huh," Bryan said as he walked over to the island. "I didn't know shoveling was a sport," says the Caribbean islander who moved into a fancy New York City apartment with doormen who shovel for you. Victor grumbled, handing Manny a cup and then Bryan. Hey now, I did my fair share of shoveling in Ithaca," he pointed out, referring to when they'd had to take turns shoveling around the frat house and later when they shared an apartment. Manny opened his mouth to say something, but suddenly the door to the main suite opened and the girls came pouring out. Of course, Dani was in the front of the group since she was the unofficial leader, despite being the youngest. She looked like she was dressed as some sort of sparkly showgirl, except she had two big eyes sticking up from a headband on her head and the Taíno symbol for coquí drawn on her cheek. He guessed she was supposed to be a coquí frog, but that was only because many years of celebrating Halloween with her trained him to be able to interpret whatever sexy iteration of her costume, no matter how vague. Valeria followed, and Bryan had to bite back a smile over her costume and makeup. She really should have become a theater or movie makeup artist. Not only was she good at it, but her enjoyment was evident in the way she practically skipped out of the room with a smile on her zombie cow face. "You look great, Vale," he told her. "Those all-black contacts are creepy as hell." "Thanks. I'm just glad for this." She held up a long bit of nylon rope that she was wearing, almost like a noose necklace. "These contacts give me tunnel vision, so I'll no doubt need Vic to lead me around. Especially once she's drunk," Maya tossed out as she stepped out behind her cousins and closed the door behind her. "You know she loves to wander and make friends." Her voice was equal parts distaste and confusion, like she couldn't understand why anyone would want to talk to strangers. Bryan sucked in a silent breath. He never forgot how gorgeous she was, but it still surprised him every time. Her pale skin, large hazel eyes, and perfectly formed Cupid's bow lips. The sharp angles of her cheekbones, jaw, and nose looked even more cutting because of her costume makeup. And her body. God, it was otherworldly. She was tall and of slim build, but she still had quite the figure. Her current outfit showed off every toned inch, especially her strong legs. Because of the feathery tail of her costume, her pert ass was hidden, but Bryan had gotten to look at it plenty during their pool time earlier in the day. When Maya noticed his costume, she blinked a few times and her brow furrowed. At least it tried to. The jewel stuck to it kind of prevented it from wrinkling. "You're a pirate?" "Yeah," he answered. "Why?" He knew why, but he needed to play it cool. That didn't stop him from subtly flexing his arms and chest under his leather vest. It's just, she paused. I'm a parrot. She gestured to her costume as if he couldn't see it. He took a drink of the sweet, cold drink in his cup. Uh-huh. Dani strutted over and handed Maya a full cup. It looks like you two are together, and that's a problem. Bryan frowned. Why? Because we're on a mission to find Maya a one-night stand, and we can't do that if you two are walking around looking like a couple. Bryan's stomach cramped, and his magic nearly exploded from his fingers. Oh, hell to the no. That was not going to happen. Maya was definitely tipsy AF by the time they'd found Carlos and his friends in the packed beachfront party. She blamed the strong-ass piña coladas Victor had made them, but she could have also blamed the Canepa Jello shots they'd taken before they left, or the 2 gasolinas she and Dani downed on the walk from the parking lot to the hotel, where the Halloween party was taking place. Luckily, Maya had always been able to handle her liquor, so while Dani was quickly approaching her obnoxious level, Maya just felt like dancing, and Carlos was the perfect dance partner. As was evidenced by them both screaming at the top of their lungs when they saw each other, running to each other, and immediately dropping it to the floor instead of greeting each other, because the DJ put on their favorite El Alfa song. She had to admit that Carlos danced better in heels than she ever did, hence her choice of red Adidas sneakers. Add to that the headdress, long red wig, and full body, and she wasn't sure how he kept from tipping over. Then again, the talents of drag queens never failed to impress her. So she just accepted it and let loose. She was in the middle of voguing with Carlos and a few of his friends when she realized she had no idea how long she'd been dancing, but she was in dire need of water. She looked around for the nearest bar and also realized that she had no idea where the other members of her group had gone. She gestured to Carlos that she was going to get something to drink and then began to navigate her way through the crowd. By the time she made it to the bar, she was aware that she was now sober and therefore completely overwhelmed by the number of people around. As soon as she got her bottled water, she headed away from the congestion to the beach entrance, where the throng thinned considerably. When she saw that there were some people actually on the beach, she looked to the security guard and asked him in her gringa Spanish if she would be able to come back if she went out there. At his nod, she quickly slipped her shoes off and stepped down the steps to the sand. She walked a bit farther away from the cacophony behind her, tucked her shoes under her arm, opened her water, and gulped down about half of it. Then she closed her eyes and took what felt like her first deep breath in a while. As fun as dancing with her cousins was, this was nicer. She could still hear the music, but she could also feel the ocean breeze. She knew she'd have to get back soon, but for now, she was just going to finish her water and breathe. Meanwhile, Bryan was still trying to figure out his next step. He'd been trying to get close to Maya and engage her in conversation all night, but Dani had stuck herself to her cousin's side like a tick. Then they'd found Carlos, and she disappeared into the swarm of dancers. To make matters worse, his magical instincts were alarming like crazy. He knew Halloween was the time of year all of the creatures of the night came out in the open, so it didn't surprise him that there were some at the party. What had him nervous was the intensity of the warning his magic was giving him. There was at least one exceedingly powerful being there, which could be a serious threat. While his magic was strong, stronger than almost anyone else in his ile, he was not skilled enough in using it to take on something that strong. He followed Victor and Valeria to the roped-off area where the costume contest participants checked in and could wait without having to worry about their costumes getting accidentally ruined. As soon as they walked up to the high-top table where the employees were standing, Bryan's magic sparked again, but stronger than before. He nearly doubled over. Then his eyes fell on something truly terrifying. At the back of the section stood a monster from his nightmares. Literally, he'd had nightmares about the creature leaning against the wall staring at him since he was a boy. When so many people claimed to see it in the 2010s that they started organizing searches for it, he'd felt vindicated, but also more anxious than ever, especially when the searchers found nothing but more bloodless animals. At almost 7 feet tall, with huge wings and large claws, it was easy to see why the bat-like creature had been named La Gárgola. It looked like a Gothic gargoyle come to life. But Bryan knew this was no rock statue, nor was it a costume. The voices of his ancestors rang in his mind, telling him to beware. This was a real paranormal being showing its true form, because it could. It was Halloween, so it'd blend in. Plus, no one would ever suspect that the chupacabra was walking among them and apparently joining a costume contest. There was a beautiful black woman dressed like Aaliyah from Queen of the Damned standing next to the creature. Although Bryan hadn't seen its mouth move, it must have said something to her, because her head suddenly snapped in his direction. She stared at him, and he struggled greatly to hold her gaze. It was almost like she was too beautiful to look directly at. She said something to the monster and then started walking towards him. Bryan wanted to turn tail and run, but he couldn't move. She stopped right on the other side of the velvet rope and tilted her head as she looked at him. "Your friends are clever," she finally said. What? He stuttered. She jerked her chin in the direction of where Victor and Valeria were filling out the contest paperwork. "Jacinto and his cow. It's clever and very well done." "Oh," Bryan swallowed. "Yeah, they love Halloween, so they always go all out." "And you, Babalao? Do you enjoy Halloween? Or does the idea of monsters walking the earth scare you?" She was slick, but not enough. He knew that she was referring to the bloodthirsty creature behind her. But then he realized she'd called him a secret holder. She knew what he was. His eyes widened and she smiled. But for some reason, it was not comforting. It was unnatural and slightly threatening. He wondered if his abuelo would respond if Bryan called for him through their connection. "There's no reason for that, hijo," she said. "We are just here to have fun." She gestured behind her. "Neither one of us is here to cause trouble. In fact, I think I can help you." "What do you mean? And why did you call me your son?" Her smile grew. "Are you not a child of Oshun?" Suddenly, her smile fell, and her eyes flashed pure gold. "Although it has been a long time since you've honored me properly, Babalao." She crossed her arms. "Perhaps I shouldn't help you." Bryan gasped. There was no fucking way a deity, his Orisha, was standing in front of him dressed like a vampire, pouting her pillowy red lips and calling him by his title while scolding him for his failure to honor her with offerings and rituals. "You believe it is impossible for me to be here? You think I spend all of my time on another plane? Do I not deserve to enjoy myself?" Coño, it was her, Oshun, the Orisha of love, beauty, prosperity, and more. Bryan dropped his eyes and titled his head in respect. "I'm sorry, Mama Oshun. I've been lax." Her hand touched his chin and lifted his head, so he was once again looking into her eyes. "You've been preoccupied with many worries for a long time. If you'd come to me earlier, I could have eased your mind." "I apologize again, Mama Oshun. I dishonored you and myself by turning away from you." "I forgive you, hijo, and I will help you despite your doubts." Then she leaned to the side and her eyes fell on something behind him. "Your queen, she ignores you." Bryan turned to look behind him, surprised she seemed to have found Maya so easily. But he was disappointed when it was just a bunch of strangers. He turned back to Oshun. "She doesn't see me. Not really. Nor does she feel our connection. I don't know why." Oshun brought a gold-tipped finger to her lips and tapped her nail against her Cupid's bow. Someone has separated her from herself and bound her heart. Her eyes narrowed. I do not like it when others interfere with my children. The transgressor will know my displeasure. Bryan's skin broke out in goosebumps. He felt bad for whoever was responsible, because the goddess looked downright menacing. She blinked and her pleasant expression returned. She turned to him. I have released her. Thank you, Mum. She held up a hand to stop him. I have not made it that easy on you. You will still need to prove yourself to her to gain her affections. She will not be easily won over. She looked behind him again, and her lips lifted into a sly grin. No, she will make you work hard. She turned her gaze back to him. I like her immensely. She turned to leave, but before she was completely faced away from him, she paused and looked over her shoulder. I expect your altar to be reassembled very soon, and for it to contain all of my favorite things. Her tone brooked no argument. Of course, Mama Oshun. He rushed to agree. As soon as I get home, Ashe. Ashe. She returned before walking away from him and rejoining her monstrous friend. Bryan was startled when the chupacabra gave him the nod. Unable to decide what was stranger, he simply turned around and walked away. He had a parrot to find. Maya felt weird. Something was up. Her skin, her sight, her hearing were super sensitive. She felt as if everything about her had suddenly gotten bigger and no longer fit. Like when Alice ate the piece of candy and grew so much she didn't fit in the house anymore. All right, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't painful per se, but it was for sure uncomfortable. If she hadn't watched the bartender grab her water from a huge cooler of identical bottles and hand her the sealed beverage, she'd think she'd been drugged. She stood right inside the entrance to the party, but couldn't seem to make herself go back in. Maya? A deep, rough voice asked. She knew whose voice it was, but what she didn't know was why it suddenly made her flesh pebble. She turned to face him and just about had a stroke. She'd seen Bryan many times throughout the years, and while she'd always recognized that he was a very good-looking man, with his light brown skin, icy blue-green eyes, dark curly hair, and solid build, the sight of him had never affected her like this. She felt like she'd just been struck by lightning or something. Every hair on her body stood on end. Shivers raced along her skin, and her heart immediately started racing. Her stomach did this weird swoop thing she'd only ever experienced on roller coasters, and she could feel the hot flush rushing to her face. Before she even knew what she was doing, she threw herself at him. She wrapped her arms around his waist and buried her face in his chest. She could tell she'd shocked him because his hands were still up in the air as if she were a cop and he was trying to prove that he had nothing in his hands. His voice, when he finally spoke, was equal parts concern and confusion. What's going on? Are you okay? I don't know, she said into the leather vest covering his defined chest. I feel weird. Do you think you drank too much or something? She shook her head. You're shaking. His arms finally went around her. Did something happen? He rubbed her back in a comforting circle. Did someone do something to you? She shook her head again. He pulled back, but his big warm hands continued to soothe her. Look at me. Maya tilted her head up and rested her chin on his chest. She stared into his eyes as he stared into hers. You have beautiful eyes, she said. They're this mix of gray, blue, and green that makes you seem mysterious or something. He blinked and an eyebrow went up. Did you take something? No, not on purpose anyway. He frowned as he looked her over. Then he looked up and around. Come on, he said. Let's go somewhere quieter. He dropped his hands and tried to take a step back, but Maya tightened her hold, unwilling to let go. Something about being against him was keeping her calm. She felt like if she let him go, she'd truly fall apart. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just need you to hold me right now." He sighed, but it didn't sound like he was put out. It almost sounded pleasureful. He bent down, scooped her legs into his arms, and began walking back toward the beach area. She heard the security guy ask if she was okay, and Bryan responded that she was fine, just a little too drunk. The security guard told Bryan to stay nearby where he could see them. She realized that he was looking out for her. She wanted to thank him, but she couldn't speak. She knew if she opened her mouth, something weird and emotional was going to come out. Instead, she just lifted her hand and gave a thumbs up to signal that she was fine with Bryan. Then she patted Bryan on the chest with the same hand before resting it over her heart. Bryan somehow managed to sit down in the sand without putting her down. He settled her on his lap and then resumed stroking her back. She liked that he didn't immediately start bombarding her with questions again, nor did he give her nonsensical platitudes. He stayed quiet and let his warm hands offer her comfort. For a minute, Maya kept her eyes closed and just breathed. Without the bright and colorful lights flashing in her face, she felt much better. She couldn't hear it over the sound of the music and the waves, but she could feel Bryan's steady heartbeat against her cheek. She stayed like that until her heartbeat slowed to match his. Eventually, Maya lifted her head to look at their surroundings. They were close enough to the water that she could see the line that marked the wet sand from the dry, but not close enough that they were in danger of getting wet. She watched the waves. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I don't know what happened, but suddenly everything was just too much." "You got overstimulated." "Yeah, which is weird because I usually feel detached." "I'm sorry," he said, sounding sincere. Maya frowned, but was still too embarrassed to meet his gaze. "Why? It's not like you slipped me Molly or something." He shifted. "No, but I still feel like I should have been with you. Maybe you wouldn't have stressed out so much if you weren't alone when it happened." Had Bryan always been this sweet? He was a nice guy, but she couldn't think of anything particular that he'd done before. Wait, there was that one time in college when she found out her grandmother on her mom's side was in the hospital because she'd fallen. She didn't know how to drive, and neither of her cousins had a car. She'd called Kyle, thinking her boyfriend would surely take her to the city, only to be told no. He had a paper due the next day. She'd been looking up bus times when she'd gotten a call from a number she didn't have in her phone. It had been Bryan offering to take her where she needed to go. Cognizant of the way that Kyle had just scolded her for being inconsiderate of others' needs, Maya had tried to put him off. He'd told her that he was already on his way, so she should pack an overnight bag instead of wasting time arguing with him. "Oh, damn, I never asked you if you got that job," she blurted. When she looked at him, he was the one frowning. "I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you sure you didn't take something?" "I was thinking about that time in college that you let me hitch a ride to the city with you. I remembered that you were going for an interview, and also that I never asked about it afterwards." His eyebrow arched. "So you decided to ask about it now?" "I mean, 7 years late is better than never, right?" He smiled and shook his head as if he found her adorably amusing, like a baby eating spaghetti with their hands. "I guess." "So, did you get it?" Something sparkly caught her eye, and she looked down to see a few of her stick-on jewels now stuck to Bryan's vest. Oops. She reached to pick them off, but he squirmed under her, and she realized that she'd been freely touching him without even asking him if it was okay. She snatched her hand back and prepared to slide off of his lap. "Sorry." He wrapped his arm around her back. "Wait." She paused and looked up at him. He was backlit by the lights from the outdoor stage. His expression was unsure. "I have a confession to make." "Okay." He took a deep breath and let it out. "I lied. I didn't actually have an interview." Maya's jaw dropped. Why would you do that? I could tell that you felt guilty or something, and I didn't want you to feel bad. See? He was sweet as hell, and she had no idea until tonight. No, I mean, why would you drive 8 hours in total just to give me a ride? Didn't you have class? He shrugged. Only 2 lectures in a lab, but my professors let me make up my exams, so it was fine. She gasped. You missed exams to drive me from Cornell to Manhattan? He looked uncomfortable. It wasn't that big of a deal. Bryan, my own boyfriend refused to drive me because he had to review a paper that was due the next day. I know it was a big deal. First of all, your boyfriend should have taken you, no questions asked. That he didn't speaks more to his character than the importance of classes or tests. But he was always a self-important asshole, so that actually tracks. Suddenly, Maya had an idea. Well, more of a suspicion than an idea. She needed to see if she was right. She leaned closer and used a nail to flick at the red jewel stuck to his leather vest. She looked at him from under her lashes. And secondly? He blinked. What? When someone says, first of all, there's usually a list that accompanies the first argument. She flicked off another jewel. He swallowed. Just that you deserved better than that. You mean like a guy who would drop everything to drive me to the city and wait around for a day to take me home even though he had important things to do? He was watching her nails circle another red teardrop that just happened to be in the middle of his peg. Yes? He cleared his throat. I mean, that's what he should have done. Bryan. She pushed the red gem further onto his vest instead of taking it off. Huh? She turned until she was straddling his legs. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to promise to be honest with me. His eyes were wide and staring to where she was perched on his thighs. I'll never lie to you, Maya. His tone was distracted, but his words were honest. She lifted her finger from his chest to his chin and pushed until he was looking her in the eyes. Did you have a crush on me, Bryan? He snorted and shook his head. Oh God, how embarrassing. She dropped her hand and was about to climb off of his lap to go drown herself in the sea when he grabbed her hand to stop her. I didn't have a crush on you, because that word is too small to describe how I felt about you, how I feel about you still. Maya froze. How do you feel about me? I've been crazy about you from the moment we met. He paused, not in a creepy, obsessive stalker way. She didn't know why he felt the need to clarify that. Okay. When I saw you, I thought you were the most beautiful woman. I still think that. Then I shook your hand, and I felt like I was melting from the inside out. We talked for a few minutes, and for me, the connection was instant. I don't remember what we talked about. I was too high in the clouds. But I do remember thinking, this is her. She's everything I've ever dreamt of. Then your boyfriend came to mark his territory, and I crash-landed in the desert. He lifted a finger and traced the line of jewels at the edge of her eye. I told myself to let it go, to just be cool with being your friend or your cousin's friend. But every single time I've seen you since then, my feelings just got stronger. Being around you feels right. And I know that it's one-sided. You had a boyfriend. So I never said anything or tried to force something. But I can't stop myself now. I feel like if I let this moment pass, I'll never get another one. So I have to just say it. I like you, Maya. I really, really like you. And I'd love for you to give me a chance. Maya didn't know what to do or what to say. It had not occurred to her that Bryan felt something for her. She was often accused of being in her own world, but this was more than that. She felt like she'd never really seen Bryan before, like he was smudged and blurry, but now she could see him in clear, crisp detail. She liked what she saw. She liked it a lot. But that's not what she was looking for at the moment. She just wanted someone to have fun with for a little bit. She wasn't ready for another serious relationship unless it was with herself. And Bryan was making it clear that his mind was on serious relationship. She briefly contemplated, explaining to him that she would be up for a bit of fooling around, but nixed that idea quickly. She didn't want to hurt his feelings, and there was too much on the line. He was best friends with her cousin-in-law, so he was and would be around. Any kind of awkwardness between them would affect everyone around them, and that wasn't fair. Yet, she couldn't stop thinking about how right being with him felt. He said he'd felt the connection right away, and while she hadn't, she could say that now she very much felt something drawing them together. She didn't know how she'd missed it before, but her instincts were screaming at her that this was big. That scared the hell out of her. She couldn't recall ever being scared about feeling too much in a relationship. She wasn't sure she liked it. "I don't know what to say," she confessed. "Thank you feels weirdly dismissive in this context, but I can't figure out what else there is." Maybe there wasn't anything to say. Maybe she just had to show him. Maya leaned forward slowly, giving Bryan plenty of time to turn his head or back away. He didn't move at all. He simply watched her get closer and closer until their lips brushed. Then he sucked in a breath. Maya hadn't intended for the kiss to be anything more than a sweet and tender peck to show how appreciative she was for his words. But as soon as their lips touched, she couldn't stop. She pressed her lips to his more firmly, and he responded in kind. In moments, they were full-on making out, the pull between them turning warm and slick. Kissing had never felt like this to her before, like she was opening up to him and inviting him to come in. What did this mean? Did she want him in her inner sanctum? She did. She wanted him to see her, all of her, especially the things she hid from the world. Maya pulled back suddenly, scared by the thought of letting someone that close. Bryan was looking at her like she was everything. She squirmed. "This is a lot," she said. He nodded. "It is." He put a hand on his chest and rubbed at it absently. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overwhelm you." No, she rushed to say. "I'm glad you told me. I just don't know what to do about it, and I usually know what to do." She didn't tell him that it was simpler when her feelings weren't involved. But right now, they felt really involved and all over the place. "I don't want to jump right into something. I haven't even moved out of Kyle's condo yet." She squirmed again. "I need to get to know myself, I think. But at the same time, I also feel like if I say no to you, I'd be missing out on something good. Like, there's a lot of potential here." Bryan reached out to grab her hand, and she realized she'd been playing with the hem of her shorts. "How about we just take it slow?" he asked. "Like, we hang out a bit more here, and when we get back, if you want to, I take you on a date. No pressure, just two people getting to know each other." Maya exhaled roughly. Her tense neck muscles relaxed. That sounded better. Way better. "Would you be disappointed?" she asked. "God, no," he exclaimed. "Like I said, all I'm asking for is a chance." Lord, he was saying all of the right things, and even better, she could tell that he meant them. He wasn't playing a role. "Okay," she said. "Let's give this a shot. Let's see where this goes." The smile he gave her was so wide and excited that she couldn't help giving him one in return. Then he pulled her close and kissed her like she was the air he needed to breathe. Maya couldn't help kissing him back just as intensely. She felt a sort of lighthearted hopefulness, unlike anything she'd felt before. The two of them sat on the beach, kissing and talking and enjoying the tender affection bubbling up between them. A few yards away, Oshun watched her children laying the foundation to a beautiful future with a smile on her face. She loved love, but she especially loved when it was her machinations that brought it about. "Since when are you into voyeurism?" a voice asked in her head. She turned her head to watch her close friend walk up. "Since when are you into exhibitionism, especially in your other form?" It wasn't visible on his face, but Oshun could hear the smile in his tone when he said, "Since it came with a trophy." He held up the cheap, gold, plastic jack-o'-lantern trophy with pride. Oshun shook her head. "You are too easily entertained these days." "I'm not the one watching two humans dry humping in the sand like it's primetime television, Señora Snoopy." She refused to acknowledge that comment, so she stayed quiet. "Are they going to make it?" he asked after a moment. She arched an eyebrow. "Now who's nosy?" He shrugged his expansive shoulders. "I like the Brujos vibe, and I know that if you're meddling, it's because he deserves it." They both do. And Oshun was going to make sure no one interfered with their happiness again. She heard a chuckle in her mind and turned to her friend again. "What?" "I recognize that look, and I feel bad for whoever gets in your way." "As you should, my beloved chupacabra. As you should." This has been How Maya Got Her Sazón Back by Natalie Caña. Read for you by Diana Bustelo.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, lady listeners. Thank you so much to Natalie Caña for bringing us How Maya Got Her Sazón Back. Thank you for being on the podcast and just letting us share your stuff. Make sure you check out the Facebook page and Read Me Romance headquarters, and check out Read Me Romance on Instagram. You can also see the links for everything down in the show notes. We'll have all of Natalie's books on there, and links to her Instagram page and all that good stuff, so you can find her and all of her upcoming stuff. So just everything will be in the show notes down below. And oh my goodness, I think that's it. Let me see what we have coming up next week. So next week on the podcast, we have Robin Covington. She has a book called Secret Santa Baby, which love the title. I'm in already. Secret Baby. It's Secret Santa Baby. Hello. So join us next week, and I think that's it. Oh wait, what you got?
I was gonna say our Patreon. I've been saving the Christmas books for this next section for Halloween to be over, and one of them was stalking the secret baby or whatever.
Yes.
But a bunch of the Christmas ones,
are
coming to Patreon now that Halloween is over. So gear up there too.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. Okay, yeah, definitely check out the Read Me Romance Patreon, and again, we'll have all that down in the show notes as well. So I think that's it.
Tell them what to do.
Fuck your day up. Make today your bitch. Don't be a dick.
Bye.
Bye.
Read me romance. Read me romance. Read me romance. Read me romance. You could take a look in a book, that's fine. Or you could sit back, relax, and unwind and read me romance. Read me romance.